This is not a TBR video. I should have said that at the start. It's just this is a huge conversation about books I want to read and all the things that I'm thinking about when I'm deciding. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you what should be a TBR, but really is just going to be more of a chatty discussion of the things I need to read by the end of the year. I've been giving TBRs the last several quarters and I'm just not keeping up with them. This last quarter, Q3, I have been horrible about my TBR, just basically saying fuck it and reading whatever I want. So I'm just going to try and spend this video discussing the books that are on my mind that I'm hoping to read by the end of the year, and what am I prioritizing. There's going to be a lot of repetition here. I'm not going to fixate too much on giving you new books, dedicating myself to new books. Rather, I'll just highlight the things that are still a priority to me, and I hope that's good enough. I feel like a liar when I tell you I'm going to read something and I don't. Maybe y'all don't care. Please let me know how much you actually care if I fail to commit to a goal. I feel like I'm wasting your time, although maybe you just enjoy hearing me talk about books, in which case, it's fine. Let's see. First off, I am still reading The Color of Distance by Amy Thompson. Something I was currently reading last quarter and I haven't just picked up at all, partly because I've just not been on the bus at all. I hate the bus. And just also not in the mood to sit down and read. I'll be traveling a lot in November and I'm going to be carrying that book with me. And when I'm relaxing, hopefully, on my vacation abroad in Southeast Asia, I'm really excited for that. I'm going to have that book. And I'm also going to have some Nick Kelly books that I'll hopefully get to on my Kindle. And so I really want to finish that this year. And I just feel like it's the right time. I should have plenty of time to relax and just read a nice book. So I really want to finish this book. If I've talked to you about it before, it's sort of like if Avatar was done well. This was like maybe the 90s, I think. It's a really creative look at this alien world and imagine being trapped on there, what it could be like. It's some things that are like very different. I really like it. The Source of Self-Regard, I don't know if I'm going to finish this. I'm supposed to be buttering this with Erica from The Broken Spine, but we have not been keeping up well. I've read an essay at least this quarter. Does that count? I need to figure out what we're going to do with this, if we're going to keep trying to buddy read it or if I should just, read it. It is a lot, I won't lie. I just find Toni Morrison extremely intimidating, to be frank. But I'm not giving up on this yet. That's something I'm still reading and I continue reading. A couple science nonfiction books that I really want to get to, especially a nonfiction I've ever read, to be frank. I'm not sure if I will, just because I'm traveling. I don't know if I'm reading that much. But The Biggest Ideas in the Universe by Sean Carroll, I've been so close to reading that so many times. I requested this on Nick Kelly in 2020. And I really gotta read this and just review it. I know at this point I probably don't give a shit. I feel like an asshole because I am one, and I just want to read it. I think I'll enjoy it, but at the same time, I don't know, just not as excited as I was. Like, he has these trilogy of books that would talk about just the basics of physics, introducing it to people to a layman, to the lay reader. And I'm just a little nervous. There might be parts where even then it's not great for an audiobook style, but I want to get through it. I want to try. The Equations of Life by Charles Cockle. He was one of my favorite authors of last year. If you remember, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. One of my favorite books was just a short series of essays he had about astrobiology, which I really liked. This, I think, is supposed to be a layperson's review of astrobiology as a science. I've read his textbook. I taught the class as a lead lecturer and as a TA for like 6+ years. And it's really all very thought-provoking, and I think it'll be made for a really compelling book. And if I like it, obviously I'm going to advertise. That's part of why I want to read it too. Is if it is what I think it's going to be, and it is as compelling or as interesting as I thought the textbook itself was, hopefully more readable, then I will absolutely be hyping it up on this channel. I'm still in this sort of struggle, not really struggle so much as I'm committing to reading more backlist books. Right now, this entire quarter, I think, I have managed to stick to 3 backlist books, that is to say 3 books published before 2020s for every 1 book of the 2020s I've read. And I've kept that up. And I've read a decent amount this quarter. I don't remember what it is. And it's just, I don't want to stop doing that. It also means I'm very behind in my Nick Kelly. I think there's going to come a point where I will just commit to my Nick Kelly. I don't know. I need to stop requesting shit. It's just not what I'm doing right now. I'm also very behind on my reviews, but I've also not been great about content. I need to stop pressuring myself and just go with the flow. I'm just going to tell you which ones I'm actually going to be focusing on. Pandemonium by Dale Gregory. I talked about that in my 2020s backlist video. Let's see. John Fram's No Road Home. This is a 2024. This is not backlist, but it's mystery, and I think it might be horror. I read his horror Brightlands, I think it was, 2020-ish, and I got this granted on NetGalley, and I really want to read it. I know he's a queer writer, and I really enjoyed Brightlands. I think I'll enjoy this, so I do want to get to this. I might say about a lot of NetGalley, whether or not I actually committed them is TBD. Rhythm of War, that is, September is when I'm supposed to read it. It is September when I'm recording this. I've not read it yet, and I anticipate actually starting it hopefully by the time this video comes out. So it might kind of roll over into this quarter, that is to say Q4 of 2024, or the fall if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. But on top of that, I'll go ahead and commit to also reading the fifth book, which is, Jesus Christ, who cares? I'll show you the cover. It's popular. People who love Brandon Sanderson will know this. But I want to have been reading his entire, whatever the series is called, Stormlight Archive series, and I still plan on keeping up with it. And I've been working hard to read them all by the time this new one comes out, and I'm hoping that when I read the fourth one, I'll get more excited again, because I don't know, after reading the third one, I got kind of meh about it. In my last video, I mentioned wanting to read Beowulf. I'll give it a solid 40% chance that I actually get to it this quarter. I still want to. It's just I'm giving myself too many projects, and that is a project unto itself, so that probably is going to end up blending over, but it's still a chance that I end up reading it. The Night Trilogy by Eli Riesel, if I'm saying that name wrong, but I really want to read this. I've been planning to read it for Nonfiction November, and I'm going to say now, of all the books I have here that I planned far in advance, the Night Trilogy is one that I actually think I can get to. I remember the first one. It was just a really compelling and very heart-wrenching book, a very educational one, and I would like to see that full scope of his experience, both in Auschwitz and after. Some, at this point, backlist NetGalley books. Origin by Jennifer Raff. I think it's a book about the origin of human species or our ancestors. I'm not entirely sure. It's one that I requested back in 2020 again that I haven't read, and I really need to do this. And there was a phase when I requested on NetGalley. I was definitely requesting stuff that I had little to no interest in, and I was just really feeling very motivated to review NetGalley. And I've tried to be much more conservative with what I'm requesting. Nevertheless, I'm now in this position of having books I want to review, but haven't yet. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Christmas and Other Horrors by Ellen Datlow. This is another NetGalley book that I got granted and haven't read. But reading it around Christmas time, I feel like it's very doable. And I haven't read Ellen Datlow in a while. She's a horror anthology editor, if you're not familiar with her. So I think it's a good time to read it. There's a project I've alluded to multiple times that I keep saying I'm reading certain books for. And for this, there's a book I want to read called Nine Fox Gambit by Yoon Ha Lee. And I'm saying this because it's the next book for this project that I need to read. But I won't lie, it's a book I've never heard of. I think it's supposed to be a queer speculative fiction, has to do with identity and sort of challenging the status quo. And that fits in for reasons that will hopefully become apparent if this project ever gets finished, but it has to get finished this year. I know I'm going to give up on it. I don't know. I've just been feeling really disenfranchised about this channel because there are things I'm doing this because I enjoy doing it, but at some point I have to ask myself, am I enjoying this, and is anyone actually going to enjoy it? I'm enjoying it, but I also want to think there's some people out there who actually enjoy what I have to make. I'm rambling. It's one I want to read for a project, but I'm getting disenfranchised with the project. This is the TLDR, or too long didn't listen. I don't know. You get my point. A backlist book, The End of Us Gates by Tim Powers. This is a time travel book posted in 1983. It's not on my backlist TBR videos, but it's one of those backlist books that I heard about. Actually, it's when I read Joe Walton's book on old speculative fiction people should read. She convinced me that I really want to read it. It's a popular time travel book. I just always thought it was sort of YA, so I never bothered. I think there's a good chance I read it because it's just would have been on my phone, ready for me to read it or play it. I've become very close to playing it. So I think there's a good chance that's one of the backlist books I play in between some of these NetGalley reviews I need to do. Let's see. Craft by Amanda Lima, which is a short story collection of just horror short stories that I've talked about before. And I think it was probably Q3 when I had it on my TBR. I haven't read it, but it's short and I do expect to read it probably. I'm about to list a lot of 2020s books. So this is where things start to, my desire to read certain books is conflicting with my backlist goals. At some point, I gotta choose my priorities, to be frank. Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes is another NetGalley audio arc that I got that I still need to read, and I anticipate when I'm doing my horror phase, that's just going to be an easy book to read. The Age of Magical Overthinking by Amanda Montell, one of the nonfiction books I've been wanting to prioritize that I haven't, partly again because of my conflicting feelings about wanting to read NetGalley, but also wanting to read more backlist books. It's one of those books that leans in or appeals to my skeptical side, where I think it's sort of critical of cult-like behavior. And I've talked before about sort of books that have to do with skepticism, critical thinking, and that's what appeals to me here. And because she's a linguist, I think there's some potential for a new type of perspective to be brought to that just type of discussion. November is a good time to read it. Again, I have no idea how much reading I'll actually be doing in November, because half the month I'm just traveling through Vietnam, and some of it'll be on tours where I don't think I'll have much time to myself. But there'll be several days at least. Well, I imagine I'll be to myself, doing my own thing, able to listen to something. And then there's half the month I'll be biking through Thailand, and that'll be in a tour. And I do not know how much time I'll be sitting there with my space to myself to just listen to something. It's already hard enough to read when I'm traveling because I'm so overwhelmed, distracted by things. Like if I'm just traveling, visiting family. So traveling to a different country, even if I'm by myself. So here's the thing: it's like two different sides. I'm going to be by myself a lot of the time, so that helps me focus on reading, and while simultaneously doing other things like cycling. Fantastic. But then there's just the potential of being distracted by the amazing everything around me that is this entirely different world and culture that might end up conflicting there. So that'll really be the decider of some of these nonfiction books and how many I get to. Let me switch over now to NetGalley. Oh, Pillars of Creation by Richard Pank. That comes out October 22nd. It is a book about the new WST space telescope, when that's supposed to replace Hubble. I'm actually really looking forward to that, to reading a layperson's book about the science that's been done and that was hoping to be done with this new advancement in space science. Sarah Pinsker's Haunt Sweet Home. I got that audiobook granted. Came out September 3rd. I would have already read it probably, honestly, but that NetGalley app is just so hard to navigate. And I tried to download it, I felt like pretty quickly after I got it, but it was already too late. It was already no longer available to me. So I just got to now find that copy, hopefully on Scribd or something. Adrift and Currents Clear. For the first time ever in the history of BookTube, I got granted the e-arc of the newest Sean McGuire's Wayward Children series. For the last several years, I've gotten the audio arc, but I'm just so excited to finally be granted. I feel like I finally reached a point of like my ultimate goal in life, which is to be important enough to get this arc. Always denied. 5 years it took. But so all that's to say, I'm gonna make use of the fact that I have that e-arc and read it. When I talked about having my Kindle when I'm traveling, that's one of the ones I imagine I'll sit down and actually read. No Road Home by John Framber I talked about. The Craft I've talked about. There are several books here I need to review that I actually loved when I read, and I haven't reviewed them, and it's just, I blame my feelings on YouTube. The Impossible Man by Pachin Bars, a nonfiction, I think, biography about about Steven Weinberg. That's Steven Weinberg. This is Barbara Penrose. Those are two different people. I get them confused. I think I was confusing the two of them. They're both intriguing. I don't remember why. Roger Penrose, I think he's written books that I haven't read. I'm not sure. He's just a physicist, a scientist. I'm interested in reading about his life. I got it granted. So that's one that I'm hoping to read. Another one, a few actually. The Elements of Marie Curie by David Sobel. It's a biography about her life, Marie Curie by David Sobel. I'm actually really anticipating this. It comes out in October. Again, this is one that I'm likely to very much prioritize for nonfiction November, or at least before the end of the year. Yeah, the newer nonfiction books are the ones I'm probably more likely to prioritize, like I said before. Into the Unknown by Kelsey Johnson, one that was more flashy than anything. It could become one of those science books that I lose interest in once I decide that it's not compelling enough for me. But I requested it. I know I'm a bad person. I shouldn't be doing this, taking away other people's requests. But Into the Unknown, the quest to understand the mysteries of the cosmos. What is it about? Leading astronomer, gifted teacher, perfect for anyone who enjoyed astrophysics, blah, blah, blah. What is it about? Besides the obvious. I guess she's just talking about the nature of the universe and what we know, how we know it. I don't know if I'll learn anything new. If anything, it might just be me judging whether or not this author is good at science communication. Where I Am by Sophie White. Damn it. This is one that I got requested a while back, but it's now being re-released. I think it may have already been released. It won, I think, the best novel in the Shirley Jackson Awards. which is originally what brought my eye to it. So another one that I'm definitely going to prioritize, I may have already talked about this actually in my last quarter, but it's one I haven't read yet, but for October, I definitely intend to. Ghost Station, I already said that. I really want to read a lot of these NetGalley ones. It's just, I'm just doing so well at maintaining that 3-to-1 ratio of, reading more backlists, and I feel proud of myself for that. Is it worth it? That's a big question I'll be having at the end of the year. I'll have a reflection on my backlist project and about whether or not the backlist books I read were any better. Because I won't lie. I am more likely to pick up a book that's mildly interesting that I think will at least be fun. Sometimes, actually, I'm more likely to pick it up because it's going to be fun, or I think it'll be easy, because I know it's very popular. So it's one of those things where I'll pick something up that I actually don't expect to love, because I know it's popular, so it should be at least easy enough to get through and enjoy. And so sometimes I'm looking at backlist books more as a filler to get my way to the next big book that I'm actually really excited about. And I know there's something to dissect there about why the fuck am I reading a book I'm not interested in. But also part of it is I need to balance what I'm reading of things that are more difficult, require more attention versus things that are just light reading. So I feel like it's not as simple as how I'm framing it. It is a nuanced thing. So don't judge me too quickly. But I just feel like it's a bit of it there. There's just room for improvement for me. I am psychoanalyzing myself. I'm not sure how many people care about this besides myself. Yeah, that's all the NetGalley that I'm interested in. I guess that's everything. That's not true. Let's go to Audible. To Explain the World, The Discovery of Modern Science by Steven Weinberg. A recent addition to my Audible catalog. I'm pretty sure it's published in 2010s. It's one that I've been intrigued to read. It's basically, I think, just talking about the nature of science and how we discover things. The Fortunate Fall by Cameron Reed. It is a queer trans work. I get the vibes that it's kind of like The Matrix, before The Matrix, or even it's very cyberpunk. And it's a recent audio creation. I think I talk about it as in my most anticipated section of the Media Freakout tag. So I think there's a good chance I do get to it, just so whether or not I'm in the mood for sci-fi at that point. I've been kind of in the mood to reread some old ones like An Unkindness of Ghost and or Earthsea Duology by Octavia Butler. I'm just kind of in the mood just to reread and just enjoy those rich speculative worlds and reflect on those. I don't know if I actually will, but I will say that those would have downloaded on my phone, which is one of those things where if I have it downloaded on my phone, which there are 20 to 30 books to download on my phone probably, I might at any time decide, let's start that book. That's where I've been lately. So I've been reading a lot of nonfiction election-related content. I mentioned Nixonland in one of my more recent, the 2000s backlist video. And there were actually several nonfiction recent books I want to read leading up to the election. I would love to make a video of recommendation of books to read to prepare for the election. But at this stage, honestly, I'm going to be publishing the day of the election, in which case, what's the point of it? It's one of those things where I can recognize I'm excited. I say excited. I'm very much interested in the election. And it's very much something that is capturing my attention, for better or worse. And finding books that I think will be educational and my momentary obsession can be weaponized to get myself to read books that I might have to be in the right headspace to read, if I'm making sense. So a lot of those, I've been reading a lot of them like Nixonland that are backlist, trying to make room for it. But a lot of the ones I'm most interested in are books in the 2020s. So not only am I in this backlist quandary of reading backlist books and trying to read NetGalley books, I'm also simultaneously using my slot for 2020's read to read election-related content that's not at all relevant to my NetGalley goals. These are all things I'm thinking about when I'm planning what I want to read. This is not a TBR video. I should have said that at the start. It's just this is a huge conversation about books I want to read and all the things that I'm thinking about when I'm deciding. Either way, that's that. Those are all the books I'm thinking about reading by the end of the year. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, if you made it to the end. And if you didn't, you don't have to let me know. You can just dislike the video, actually. You can dislike the video, and I'll take that as a sign that, Josh, please just be more ordered next time and less rambly. I would appreciate your feedback, honestly, even if it's a dislike. Like a stab to the heart, but I'll appreciate it. Hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, and I will see you all next time. Maybe with a wrap-up for last quarter. I don't know. We'll see. Bye.